Hello, good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever in the world you are. Welcome to a bonus stream, a little extra out of our usually scheduled programming. I've been enjoying doing this quite a lot, and at the beginning of this series I said I wouldn't commit any code that I hadn't written live, which is actually really hampered my ability to do anything. So every now and then, throw in a few extra live bonus streams to get some stuff done. But yeah, so this is what we had last time. I'll kind of go through it in a bit, but a few of the usuals rolling in. Nice to see you guys. Evening for me, yes. 8 p.m. here in Blighty. Greco, John, Connor, Harand, although you're only around briefly. Nice to see you guys. So yeah, last stream we kind of got this, which is pretty cool. It's kind of actually fun just to kind of hang on. Yes, sorry. That was my fault. Miss key press. Hopefully everyone is back. Hello. Hopefully I didn't lose too many people there. I do apologise. I try and it's really stupid. I try and line up the window with where we were from the previous stream, but then I have to move the mouse all the way over to the left, which you now can't see, to the OBS controls, and I kind of forgot where I was for a second and misclicked. But we have been having quite a few technical difficulties over the last few streams. We had a blue screen of death. I accidentally closed the terminal. That was a fun one. So well, at least we've hopefully got the one issue out the way. So yeah, we got this, but I want more than this. So basically the current plan is like we still relentless march towards a game. I think I'm trying not to do anything that doesn't kind of get us towards a game. That's kind of like my acid test for any functionality that we add is, does this actually get us closer to a game? You know, we can indulge ourselves with a few little bits and pieces here and there, but by and large I want to get us to a game. So what does that mean? Where are we going to go today? So really I think there's kind of like three main features left, I think, to kind of get us to the point where we can start maybe building out some game functionality. Those being textures, lighting, and model loading. So I think we kind of need to strive towards those. That's why I want to do a bonus stream today, because I want to start doing some of the texture stuff. Twitch still says I'm offline. I don't know what's going on there. Like, am I here? Am I there? Am I around? Can anyone see me? People rolling in on YouTube, good to see you. Hello. Okay, fine. I'm still here. Brent, my preview has decided to not, but you know, what are you going to do? I suppose I can just reload the page. Okay, right. So what we want is kind of all those cubes to still be there at the end, but with some sort of texture slapped across them. There's actually quite a lot to do with this. I was thinking about this earlier. So we're going to sort of just build it up bit by bit, and we'll see in sort of 2 or 3 hours how far we can get. I'm going to start off with a simple texture from basically, if anyone's done any OpenGL programming before, you've probably come across learnopengl.com. This is a fantastic introduction to OpenGL. It's kind of on 3.3 and we're targeting 4.6, so some of the stuff is not the most bleeding edge. So we're making those changes as we go along. But I'm going to take this crate image here from them and I'm going to kind of try and slap that on so we can have an array of actual boxes. So that's the plan. So what's the first thing we need to do? I guess the first thing we need to do is we need to load some resources. So at the moment, like our shaders are hard coded. We're going to need to load an image off the disk. So I'm going to knock together a super quick resource loader, which is literally just going to read stuff from disk. That in the future will improve, where we want probably some sort of caching and handing out some sort of like non-owning view over the data. But for start, let's just load stuff off this so we can slap these. So the first thing do is slap these shaders into a file, and then use the resource loader to load them to check that works, and then we can stick a texture in there, and then we can parse it, and then we can get onto all the OpenGL gubbins that we need to do today. So that's kind of our plan of attack. Can I recommend a book for modern C++? There is A Tour of C++, by the man himself, I believe, by Bjarne Stroustrup, who actually invented the language. So that's kind of a good starting point. And there's other books I can kind of recommend for like better usages of specific parts of C++, but I think that's kind of a good starting point. Right, a disk driver. I don't a disk loader, a thing that loads from disk. I'm glad you're here. You finally caught on live. I'm glad you're here. Okay, so let's start writing some code. So in source, we're going to want resource loader. H. Classic. Prag once. Namespace. Game. And then let's see where we're going to go. Hash include string view. Hash include file system. Include vector. Include C. In my mind, these are the ones that we're going to need. C std def. Okay. So what does this look like? I'm going to do it as a class, although it's not going to be particularly stateful to start with, but in the future we're going to want to extend this to cache things, so you can kind of just load things by a name and you'll get back some non-owning view of that data, and then in turn it'll be cached within the resource loader. So we're just going to start with that. Public first, because that's what I prefer. We kind of discussed this last time. There was a good conversation on why I prefer public first over private. It's obviously up to you what you want to do. I'd say pick one and be consistent. And then, so we're going to want a constructor. So Someone Recommends Beautiful C++ by Kate Gregory and Guy Davidson. I've not read it, so I couldn't recommend it, but I do very much respect Kate Gregory and her work, so I imagine anything she's written is probably very good. Okay, constd file system path root. So we're going to have like a root to our resource loader. So the resource loader is going to be backed by files to start with. In the future, we might want to extend this to, I don't know, load from a Win32 resource, or load from some sort of packed custom compressed binary format, or load from, I don't know, a WebSocket. It doesn't really matter. We're going to abstract that later. But for the moment, for now, what we need is just a way to load things from disk. So we're going to have auto load string. Std string view name, and that will give you a std string, and then we'll have auto load binary, which will be again std string view name, and then from that we get a std vector of std bytes. So the idea here is these are the kind of two interfaces that we want. You know, we want to be able to load string data, or we want to be able to load binary data. Yes, unexpected bonus stream. I'm trying to stick to Wednesdays and Sundays, but sometimes if I get a bit of extra time, I'll throw in an extra one, just because there's quite a lot to do, and I'm kind of keen to try and get through it as much as possible. And then I guess for the, private, we'll want std file system path root. That's probably enough to get started with. And then in this we'll have a resource loader.cpp. Bring that over here. So, and then we're going to include. I always like to include the header file that the C++ file is implementing first, and then after that, standard library includes, platform includes, third party includes, project includes. That's just the kind of way I've done it. I find it feel kind of goes, I guess, like least to most specific, I guess. But again, doesn't really matter. There are arguments that there are better orders than others in terms of like being kinder to your preprocessor. I can't say I'm particularly bothered. And then I guess what we'll do is just bring those over like that. Loader. FA, bring that over, go down, resource loader, and then that format. Okay, so I think we're kind of there now. Close that, because all we need to do is do root. Okay, so we're going to need some extra header includes here specifically for this. We're obviously going to need all the ones we had before, so we're going to need the file system, we're going to need string, which I know I didn't include in the other one, and I'll go back and add it when I remember, or I'll forget. All the good stuff, include vector, include c_std_def, this is where you can get std_byte from, and then include fstream for actually reading some data in. Have I got a random semicolon on line 6? I don't. Oh yes, well done. That will not compile. Okay, thanks. I should have noticed that because this here didn't auto indent, which it should have done. There's literally very little reason to stay away from modern C++ features. They are there to help you. Modern C++ features, by and large, are your friend, and there to make your life easier. I think limiting yourself to an arbitrary subset of the language isn't really particularly meaningful, because one, it makes it harder to interoperate with other libraries. It makes it harder to, onboard other developers into your projects. All you're really doing is making life more complex for yourself. I'm not saying you have to use every single feature of C++, but don't arbitrarily limit yourself from using them. Like, just to say, oh, I don't like exceptions, so I'm not going to use exceptions, isn't particularly meaningful. Okay, so we've got that. So, std ifstream file root. I think I can do this. The compiler will tell me in a minute. And then I'm going to want a particular project include we've got. I want to include, hash include error. Nope. Is it error or is it error? Yeah, error. Okay. And then 23 ensure file. Could not open file. And then I'm going to need string stream. I'll show you how I read arbitrary files in C++. So create a string stream, and then strum into it the file.rdbuff, and then I can just return stream.str. We'll just see if that blends first. Which is going to be mn resource loader.cp. I mean, I think exceptions are the perfect example because I think it's one of those things people arbitrarily assume they shouldn't use when actually I personally think it's the correct way of handling errors. We go through this a lot on the stream. It comes across as a bit of a hot take from my point, but I generally do think it's the right way in like 90%, 95% of the situations for handling errors in C++. But maybe we can get into that later if people are interested in my thoughts on this again. I think the regulars are probably sick of me going on about it. Exceptions are, you can think of it conceptually as cheap to not throw and expensive to throw. But if you've thrown, then an error has occurred and you're almost certainly on the unhappy path anyway. So if you're in the sort of 5% case where you do care is when your error path needs to be on the hot path, and then sure, like maybe not use them at that point. But like conceptually, from an engineering point of view, I think they make a lot of sense. Okay, failed. Where have I gone? I made a mistake somewhere, obviously. I bet it's because, for one, ensure probably doesn't have an overload for file stream, and it probably doesn't know it can be contextually converted to bool, so we can coerce that with a double bang. That'll fix that. The load library modifier is not allowed on non-member functions. Line 32. What have I done? Oh, I've just forgotten to put in resource loader. That's how very silly of me. And somewhere else. Name unreferenced formal parameter. Oh, of course, yes. Well, that's fine because we haven't actually implemented that yet. So what I'm going to do is let's actually bring this all out into a anonymous namespace. So D33G, go to 15, paste it in, clean up the new line. Oh, I better put it in a function. Auto load. String view name string. Okay, and then this will need to be in the game namespace now, and then 21G. Hope that ties that up a bit. And then 32, we can do return. Nope, not there. Sorry, 36G. Return load name. Oh, I'm gonna have to pass in the path actually, aren't I? Because it's not gonna have access to the root to the members. That's fine. We can do that. So we will construct our std file system part. What am I doing? What am I doing? Path. Make that const because we are good citizens. And then this becomes file ct path. Again, some projects forbid them, right? But under what pretense? Like for what reason? Like why have they arbitrarily decided to have like why have they got an arbitrary subset of the language? What do they do if they need to use a third party that now uses exceptions, right? Obviously, if you do an embedded, or again, it's some particularly weird high performance hot path. Like I get it. Like I'm always pragmatic. I'm not saying everything. You know, I don't evangelize like hard truths that you must follow, but that I can only give you my opinion. For what it's worth. You are, of course, absolutely 100% free to ignore everything I say. You're baffled by every bit of this, but enjoying it nonetheless. So I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you're enjoying it, even if it is a bit baffling. I do try to explain everything as I'm going along. Closest you got was adding a GIF to your MySpace page. I mean, there's still time. There's still time. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to I need to pass in a different modifier for styles bin the open mode. implementation defined, that's fine. We can just use auto open mode. Down here, open mode, and then 37 can be stood ios in, and then for the binary one, we do const auto data equals load. I've seen it. I've already seen it. Root name, and then down here we can do root. This is so. This I think is one of the most I find egregious. I don't know. Like I think overloading the division operator to do path concatenation. I find it strange, but I use it because it's there. But I do find it a little bit strange. It does feel dirty too. I believe Python does the same. I know Scapy does the same for building up like layered packet headers, which is a bit strange. I think maybe does it for paths as well. I'm not sure. But anyway. So and then what we can do is do stood ios in stood ios binary. So that will get the data, and then we want to convert this to a vector. So I'll use ranges because it is literally one of my favorite features in C++. So we should be able to do return data pipe to stood. I'm going to say views transform, and then this will take a auto b, convert that to a stood byte, and then we'll just return b. I don't think we need a static cast there, but we might do, and then just stood ranges to stood vector. I think that should work. The underscores are wrong on line 43. Oh yes, you're right. Excellent spot. Let's just change that. BEA do, and then pop that off, and then we'll see if this blends. Okay, doesn't like it. I made a mistake, which is not entirely unsurprising. Cannot convert from sub byte. Okay, fine. We'll get rid of the arrow syntax, and then what we'll do is we'll just static cast it. That should appease it. And then the only problem with ranges is Clang format really doesn't like it. So what we can do is put some comments on the end, and that should, he says, that should align it a little bit better. So data, pipe to the transform, pipe to ranges, pipe to 2. Again, kind of overloading the OR operator, the pipe operator, but that's kind of like how Linux does it, so I guess it's not without precedence. Okay, so, wow, we haven't changed any of the code yet, but at least it compiles. So now let's kind of prove to ourselves that this is working. Let's go to, actually, can I update my file? Okay, right, so we're gonna go include resource loader. We're gonna have to move these over to a separate file. So let's go Look the assets, and then vs assets, and then we can do like simple .vert.gl. Is it GLS or GLSL? What's the standard? What's the canonical file extension for GSL shaders? Shader. Why am I using CMake? When? Why? What else would I? What else would I use? I'm not using scones. Yeah, you can use .frag.vert. There's no official spec. I just want to know if there's going to be like syntax highlighting within my tooling that's going to pick it up. I do read Twitch chat. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up with it. I've got both scrolling through once, so I do apologise. What have I missed? Something about drinking lots of alcohol. So I try and keep up with both, but I'm not. I am human. Only human. Right, let's try this again. So let's do source asset. Huh? What? VS. Oh, sorry, it's VS assets, isn't it? Simple dot vert, and then we'll see if this gives me any syntax highlighting. So let's do D51, and then move over. Slap that in there. Nope. That is okay. We'll sort it out later. I think when I used to use VS Code for this, I think I had to have like a GLSL extension, but whatever. This comes up a lot. I'm using compdb because I have a lot of code in header files, and by default, CMake, the compile commands JSON file that CMake produces doesn't include header files, so I then get a lot of errors with it. So it doesn't always pick up. So ClangD doesn't always properly pass all our header files, and it thinks it's stuck on an old version of C++. So when I have like C++ 20 or 23 features in there, I get all the red squiggly lines, which is quite upsetting. So I just kind of periodically run that. It might not be the best setup, but it sure does work for me. I'm not actually crapping on scones. I know a lot of people use it. I've worked in a place before which had like probably 10 million lines of code built with scones. I just personally know CMake. I don't know CMake well, but I know it better than anything else. So again, for me as a one-man band trying to do all this, it kind of makes sense to me just to stick with what I know. Simple.frag. Okay, but good questions. Like, do ask me to justify every decision I make, like, because it keeps me on the straight and narrow. And then do that, and then so now we can do. I think we can just 29G D%, then clean up some of this crap. Okay. No, so I've tried this. So someone on Twitch is saying if you add HTTP files to the add executable command, it adds to command compile JSON. At least I've tried this and it didn't work for me. So maybe I've done something wrong. Maybe my CMake has got a weird version of CMake, but I definitely have tried. This has been suggested many times before and it didn't work for me. I'm happy to go try it, not now, but I will try it again because I don't really like running that tool over and over again. It's not exactly my favorite thing to do. But again, I can only that was my experience of it. So let's do game, resource loader, and then from this we're going to want, let's do int argc char argv, and then I suppose first thing we can do is do game ensure argc equals 2, so game.xc root path, and then have I not got error handling? Interesting. This whole file's a bit messed up anyway because like I've definitely used all these headers in here. They wouldn't be in here if I hadn't, so I'm not entirely sure what's going on. And then this will be argv1, because it's I think there's an implicit cast from a const chast RT to a file system path, so I think that should work. Let's get rid of this for the moment, and then we should be able to do resource loader dot load string simple dot vert, and then down here resource dot loader load string simple dot frag. I will check. Sorry, I see people were in the chat saying stuff. It probably means I made a mistake somewhere. I just instinctively put 2 pointers. I don't know why. To be honest, it's very, very rarely that I kind of use argv. So we'll see. Yes, I'm going to put a path. You basically the program we run with the root path. No, because I'm going to run it as. Well, actually, let's just run that. Let's just check that we get the assert. Yeah, arg0 is the executable path. Oh, sorry, is it the path or is it the name of the executable? Regardless, it is not the first argument. Okay, that's fine. Run it as the root path. So now I should be able to do like this. Okay, right. So we're cooking. Load the shader from file. So everyone who's been mentioning for a while that we should have some sort of resource loader, we now have one. So someone said how far we're making to the game. We barely started, We've spent, this is the 10th stream, and we spent a lot of time manually setting up our own Win32 window and resolving OpenGL functions manually, just for funsies. So, far in terms of, we've actually written quite a lot of code. We've got quite a lot of good code now. But in terms of the actual progress of the game, I think people are kind of reviewing my resource loader. I'm going to change it later. I don't really like it. It needs to cache stuff. It needs to probably, the thing that produces the data needs to be hidden behind an interface so we can dependency inject it, so we could have a file loader, a Win32 resource loader, a database loader, whatever. So I'm going to kind of improve that later. I think for now we can load stuff, and that's kind of good enough for me. Yeah, we're gonna have we'll have to have some sort of settings at some point, some sort of config, which will, so all this isn't hard coded. But for now, if it works for you with HTTP and HFiles, I will try it after the stream. Like I said, I've never gotten that to work before, but that doesn't mean I'm doing it right. It almost certainly means I'm just doing it wrong. I don't know what kind of game I'm going to make it. It's going to be simple. I'm really keen to make it simple, like a clone of an existing game, or maybe with a slight twist, or like a puzzle game. I had a few ideas, but I think once we've kind of got textures, lighting, and models, we can throw some stuff into a scene and start having a little play around with it, and maybe start thinking about how to architect this as a game. Because at the moment it is just a very simple rendering engine with a little bit of user input. Everything is single-threaded. Everything is blocking. There's nothing fancy about any of this. Again, we'll only make it fancy when we need to. I'm hoping that we can just get away with a handful of lights, a simple forward renderer, and kind of make it pretty much all single-threaded. And then, for that kind of simple game. Glad you're enjoying it. Hey AC, glad you're here. Okay, right. So we've got resource loading done. So let's get ourselves a texture. Let's get ourselves a good one. One of my favorites. So container2.ping, obviously much better than container1. We don't really talk about container1. Can confirm is a ping with RGBA, which is nice. Get ourselves out there, go up. I'm going to do ambient light, which is not really a light type, so that's kind of cheating. A directional light and point lights. My plan is to, I don't think we'll get onto it today, but my plan is to do obviously a single ambient light, a single direction light, and then a low number, like sub 10 point lights. And then we'll just see where we get to there. If it's a Twitch ad at the moment, so I'll kind of discuss a bit about what's coming up afterwards after that. Let's start thinking about, I need to start assembling my notes for textures. That's what we want. And we're going to need to bring in, we will probably need to bring in a third-party library for this. I'm not writing my own ping parser because that could just take like 4 or 5 streams and get us absolutely nowhere. So apologies if, there's a limit to what we can kind of do from scratch, I think. Where's my notes? Yes, this is a really good point. I think that for this, like a simple forward renderer, keep it simple, but I'm hoping there'll be something after this, and then the one after this, after we've got a kind of, a bit of experience doing this and we've played around with it, I'd like to do something a little bit more in depth. I'd really like to do indirect drawing, vertex pulling, like a clustered renderer, GPU culling, compute shaders, all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't really get us anywhere for this. What I was saying a second ago is that we're going to use a simple forward renderer, maybe multi-pass lighting if we need to, if the game demands more lights than we can support through that, I'll throw together a deferred renderer, but I'm hoping we might not need that. Apologies, I can't control the latency on anything we have. Okay, so we're going to want source. Gonna want a texture class, right? I think that seems like a sensible thing to want. Namespace game, and then from here we're going to have a class texture, and then from here we're going to have public and private. So what we're going to want hash include cstdint, hash include vector, hash include cstddef. Okay, so I think our constructor is going to look something like this. Actually, no, a lie. We don't need one a vector. We're definitely going to want a span, right? Because the point of the texture class is going to be upload that data to the graphics card. It's not going to need to retain ownership of it, so we might as well just pass in a span. So std span const std byte data, and then std size t width. We could infer the height, but I think it's just semantically clearer to be able to say here's the height as well. I'm going to assume, for better or worse, RGBA pixel data to start with. Although I guess the texture class could infer that itself from the raw data, because data here is not going to be RGBA quad triplets, whatever it is. It's not RGBA triples. It's going to be raw file data from a ping file, and then the texture will decode that internally. Thanks, AC, for answering some of the common questions. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm talking directly to you. Everyone else is a bot. You're the only one here, and you have my full attention. Yeah, the resource loader will own eventually, and then that will just hand out spans and string views. If we get time at the end of the stream, we'll do that. I just needed something to get going, right? Beep boop. Okay, So we're going to want to have we're going to need some OpenGL gubbins in here, alas. Oh, we're going to have to go back to our finally handcrafted artisanal list of OpenGL functions as well. OpenGL. Update. I quite like the trailing return type, like auto and then the trailing return type. I'm almost a convert. Indeed, the Welsh town names. We don't need allocators. We can stud allocators good enough for our needs, at least for the moment. So auto native handle const, and this will give us a GL uint. Sure, why not? I mean, it could even be a GL uint. And then this will have, oh my goodness, right, okay. Hash include auto release, and then 19 will have stud auto release. Nice, maybe one day. Auto release, GL uint, and this will be what? Handle. That look good. I think this looks good. I think this is what we want. I think this is what we want. So yes, source texture TPP, bring that over, hash include texture.h, space game, bring it over here, do my usual horror of just copying random parts of the header file in. Whoa! What happened there? What happened there? I've vimmed wrong somewhere. I've opened up a file from another project. Have I? And this is from the previous project we did on stream. How has that happened? Anyway, that was fun. Turns out I don't actually know what I'm doing. But I think we're all just guessing, really. So texture, bang, 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 and then fn dot, stick some curly braces on that. I am trying to get a bit better at Vim, which actually means I'm currently worse, if you can believe it. Is it possible to extend templates in line? All templates are implicitly in line, if you mean like the inline keyword, which means which is the linkage modifier, because templates aren't subject to the ODR rule. The ODR rule, the one definition rule. It's ODR. I would need more than just those handful of words, I'm afraid. Okay, so I mean templates are largely functional, right? Because you work on the type space rather than the value space. So a lot of template metaprogramming actually looks a lot like Haskell. At least a lot of the old school, like Svinay stuff. I guess modern template metaprogramming or compile time programming is all just const expr. Okay, right. Okay, so handle. You're going to need to pass in the. I'm having a funny 5 minutes. What do we do on buffer? Is I do pass in the invalid handle. Okay, fine. So 0u, and then I'm going to want a GL delete texture, I think. Let's have a look. What's the inverse? GL delete textures, which means I have to use a lambda, which is always a pain, but hey ho, here we are. Auto texture, and then GL delete textures, 1, and then the address of texture, because that's just an integer, so that's fine. And then that passes in there, and then close that. Always winning. Always winning. I don't know. I think saying the only reason to choose C++ over C as templates is quite a bold claim. I would pick it for the standard library, for algorithms, for RAII, for classes, for better or worse, for ranges. You know, there's a whole host of reasons to pick it. Okay, right, so what's the modern way of generating a texture? I think we want GL create textures, which means we are going to have to go back to our OpenGL file. And this is where we declare them all manually. I know it looks like a bunch of Welsh town names. So let's see, GL create textures, and then FB, steady. FB, what's going on? Create textures. So I started using Vim at university, and I got pretty okay with it, to the point where I've actually find it very hard to use anything else. But I never properly committed to the HJKL keys. I always used the arrow keys, and I'm sort of twisting my wrist a lot to get to them. So I have now disabled the arrow keys on my NeoVim setup. So in fact, I don't know if you can see in the bottom left here, every time I press the arrow key, I get like a passive aggressive message telling me not to use it, and they're disabled. So I'm a little bit slower and even more jankier than usual in my typing, because I'm kind of training myself to be better. Cstd-def. Cstd int, and then hash include, what do we want? OpenGL. I'm just leveraging WSL for NeoVim, which I know is available on Windows, but also for Tmux. I just want to be able to do this all day. So I use Vim bindings in VS Code for years, and it's absolutely fine. It's probably about 80% complete. There's a few like very specific things it doesn't support, but by and large, like Vim bindings in VS Code is pretty good. Oh no, I hate relative numbers. I appreciate the input, but I've tried it before, and I just cannot get on with that. It's a step too far for me. So I'm building for Windows. I'm building for Windows using Wine MSVC. So what we've been building is a P32 file. Okay, so let's go GL create textures. Now that we have access to that, gonna want texture 2D, and then we're gonna want 1, and then we're gonna want our buffer. That should be enough to get started, and then 19 we should be able to do return buffer. So now I just need to add that to the CMake file, and then just check that that builds. Right, got a typo. How do I debug it? Carefully. That's the only sticking point with this entire setup, is that it's very hard to debug. I would probably have to throw it into x64 debug. But at the moment, it's kind of, we've got enough logging and error handling to kind of figure out what we need. But yeah, well done. So it's kind of okay for us at the moment. Yeah, I've made other considerations, but I'm kind of in a flow with this, that it's working for me, so I'm kind of just going to keep sticking with it. Programming a game. Well, at the moment we're programming a rendering engine, but eventually we'll get to a game. C++, modern C++, and modern OpenGL. I mean, not bleeding edge OpenGL. It's not going to be as though, but like I said, that's a future project. So I would really like to play around with it, but I'd actually also like to make some progress, do what everyone hates, and update my update my files. Okay. Okay, so we've got a texture, and now we need to load it. So to load it, we're going to use STB because that's basically what everyone uses, and it's nice and easy. So let's go to our root CMake file, and then we're going to do fetch content declare STB. I'll find the STB repo. I'll have a copy of that. I'll have one of those. Then I will. Oh, in fact, actually, so that should be Git repository. I don't know what game I'm programming yet. I might even leave it, you know, partially up to everyone. As in, like, we might have a chat about it, or I might just make a decision. They don't tag their releases on STB. It's just like commit to master and go for it. So I guess we'll just take the latest. Sure looks like a hash to me. Believe we need to say we don't want to configure or build any of it because it's header only, or at least the bits we want are in the header only. And then fetch content make available STB. Let's just see if that works. Pretty sure that is a Git repository. I think Git repository, right? What have I gone wrong? I literally just copied the link from GitHub. I don't know. Have I got a weird space in there? Not a Git repository .git. You gonna tell me where that is? Hey? Can anyone else see it? Try without HTTPS. I just don't feel like that's a thing. Let me do something bold. See that MSVC? Fatal, not a Git repository .git. I think this is a bug in STB. Like, just because it's pulled down the depths, right? CMake. Oh, sorry. Depths. STB source build. Right. Okay. Fine. We'll just pick a. I guess we just pick our favorite. Pick our favorite STB hash. This is another one of my personal favorites. Nope, that's still the same. Joke doesn't make sense now. This is another one of my personal favorites. I think you... Is there... You can build STB, right? Because it does have C files. I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is something else. No, STB doesn't have tags releases. That's why it's annoying. Oh, STB Vorbis is the C file. Fine. I'm looking in the repo and there is a C file in there. Yeah, I mean, I guess I could just download it manually, but I'd rather use CMake to do to check stuff out a fixed version for me. Also, there has to be a reason this doesn't work. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of curious to know why this doesn't work. So what's in depths? STB. This is empty. Yeah, again. I'm trying to be consistent. Like I get other third-party things with fetch content, so I feel like I should just use this. There's literally no reason this shouldn't work. Have I got a weird white space somewhere? Okay, I mean we can. Just because, for the avoidance of doubt. I mean, I'm not going to spend the whole stream looking at this, but oh, here you go. What's this? 922. Missed that. Make available. Why is it not like that? It doesn't like this. Why is it not like this? Interesting. Has it got some sort of clash? Great. Let's just blow the depths away. Fine. Whatever. Well, we might as well treat ourselves to the latest commit. Yeah, I mean, this is the name you give it, and effectively creates the target that you refer to it as in the rest of the source. So I have no idea why that's being like that, but hey ho. So I think because it's not a CMake file, I need to manually tell the game, the executable, where it is. So I think I need to do in source directories. I think I need to do target target include directories. What's that going to be? It's now going to be stb lib source dir. So that should make the header files available to the game. I don't have it installed via my package manager that I'm aware of. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We've solved it now. Problem for another day. Well, problem for no more days. Well, actually, I guess now is the real test. Is can I actually install it? Can I actually use it? So third-party library. So we got to use the old STB image implementation magic, and then include stb image.h. Let's see if that blends. Seems unlikely that Google Test... I get what you're saying. It seems unlikely that Google Test would export a CMake target called STB. You're right. That is an invalid one. I did forget to find. Well, it seems to have found it, right? So I think we're hot to trot with this. Okay, so now I've got to remember how to use STB. It returns you a pointer that you have to free, right? So I think I'm going to want third unique pointer. What is it? It's an STBIUC. The custom destructor is part of the type. It is. So let's do decal type STBI image free. I think that's right. And then this will be, I guess, like the raw data. And then from this, we will construct it with auto raw data equals close that. Right. Okay. Right. I think we're there now. Okay. So the stood unique pointer, and then into this, I'm going to stick the STB load from memory. Sorry, I'm just checking there. I think people have answering their own questions in the chat, so apologies if I missed that. But hopefully you got the answer that you wanted. So this will need data.data. Just looking at this thing, there's almost certainly going to need some casts. This is almost certainly going to not work off the bat. Let's just find this quickly. I had this. So we're calling load from memory. So we're going to give it a buffer and a length and then some information about it. And then this will then, STB will then use the magic bytes in the header to automatically figure out whether it's a ping or a JPEG or whatever and pass it. Okay. So is that a pointer to width? Why is it fine? If that's what you want, that is what you shall have. Width, height, 19, auto num channels equals. I guess do we want alpha? I don't actually want to support transparency at the moment, but I'm wondering if I give it the wrong number of channels. I can't remember if STB just drops them or if it will refuse to give it to us. But let's go with, let's start with 3. Channels, and then I think it's either flagged or some sort of comparator, which we don't want at the end. And then I think we can just then pass in STBI image free. Is that a light code? You should be able to just not use it. Yeah, okay, nice. Correct, good spot. That should just be the type. Good spot. Blech. Oh my goodness. Oh, we've angered the compiler. Cannot convert argument 1 from stub byte to const stub byte. You are correct. You cannot do that. However, through the magic of reinterpret cast, I will anoint you as a const stbi. I believe the UC there is unsigned char. So consider yourself now the right type. Okay, cannot convert argument 3 from size t to int. That is fine. We can also figure that out. So which one was that? Size 1, 2, 3. Ugh, that is so annoying. I think these all need to be int. Alright, let's just do... Oh, these are all size t's as well. Why don't I make them size t's? We can fix this. Let's make those stood uint 32 t's. So at least there's no... and then we can figure out the rest of the conversion ourselves. So w equals int. I don't know if it'll let me do that because I can't remember if that counts it as a narrowing conversion. But okay, seems happy with it. Okay, and now we can go get rid of that. FH, get rid of that, and see if that blends. That's right, stood in the CP file, almost certainly. I did, well done. And then what I did was even worse, is I pressed the dot operator on the next one, which meant it just copied it. C-style casts are... I cannot abide by C-style casts, I'm sorry. Am I winning? It's impossible to say. At G? Oh yeah. I suppose I'll probably just actually look at this rather than fix available. What does this think the fix is? Well, might as well not bother at that point. Okay, where are we at? Happy Friday, indeed. Happy Friday. I'm just missing type in line 23. Okay, where have we gone wrong? I've got my pointer on a type and the type of the destructor. I've passed in, this should return a pointer, yeah. I reinterpret cast the data to that. I pass in the size. I pass in a pointer to the width, the height, and the number of channels. And then I pass in the typo line 20. Typo line 20. Typo line tactic class. That's the new C++ class. It's coming in C++ 26. It sort of tactically decides which type you need it to be. Man, this is grim. What? Texture. Line 15. Oh, not only that, I copied it from here, so I've double dipped on my error. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. I can feel it. I can feel it. Team, we're nearly there. Have I cannot confirm associated possible loss of data. 24. That's going to be this one here, isn't it? Because I bet it expects an int. It does. All the casts. We don't need const cast yet, but when we do, it's going to be a special day. We have extra that in the constructor. I do. No, I don't. If this is talking about this, I don't think so, because this is initializing this and then this. You have an extra semicolon, but it doesn't actually make any difference. Oh, wait a minute. No, you're right. I do. Good spot. Okay. Where are we at? I think have I unique pointed wrong? I thought I could just pass in a pointer. So if I got to pass in an object, no, I should be able to pass in a function pointer, right? As the destructor. Oh, sorry, it's the custom. Oh, it's been a long day. The custom destructor that unique pointer does. I think I can just pass in a function pointer. Cannot convert from initializer list to. Surprised that would be it? Yeah, didn't think so. Didn't think so. It's going. It's going is all I can really say. Like, we're an hour and 15 in, and I am yet to load a texture. So, got a sweet resource loader though. I don't know where this initializer. This right. What's going on line 23? Let's what we can do is let's just convince ourselves that we do know how to unique pointer, because it's literally like one of the most important primitives. Well, what I'm going. This is why this is how I debug things. This is how I debug like syntax errors. Is I basically just keep removing code until I get to like a ground truth, and then slowly start adding it back in again. So this. I'm really shocked if this doesn't work. Why do the error logs look like text vomit? Because that is just C++ errors. That is, unfortunately, that is the cross you must bear. Right, so it doesn't like my type, but I really can't see why it wouldn't like that. I guess we could declare it manually. I suppose let's just what is the type of this? It is a void, and it takes a void pointer, obviously. So there's no reason why I couldn't just do void star, right? I should be able to declare it as a function pointer. I bet it's that decal type it doesn't like. How weird. I can't understand why it doesn't like that. Why it doesn't like the decal type. How bizarre. I'm going to have to look that up. Why can I not... What is the decal type of C++ decal type function? Does it really not give you the... So I guess if the argument is an unparenthesized ID expression, because if you parenthesize it, you get this weird thing where you can kind of then tell the value category of the expression. Don't worry about overload 2 if decal type is really weird. If the argument is an unparenthesized ID expression or an unparenthesized class member access expression, then decal type yields the type of the entity named by this expression. If there is no such entity, or if the argument names a set of overloaded functions, which it doesn't because it's a C function, the program is ill-formed. So does a function not classify as an ID expression? An ID expression is an arbitrary long sequence of digits, underscores, lowercase, and uppercase. Yeah, so I don't... My reading is that should do what I want it to do, right? I mean, we could wrap it in a lambda, but what I'm saying is I literally do not understand why I cannot... I really don't understand why this doesn't work. Ooh. No, surely not. No, okay. Fine. We'll just declare randomly. I'm not going to spend time on this. I'll have to look this up. I don't think it does, because I don't think that. I guess the question is this a macro, right? But it's not. Oh, I'm not going to spend ages on this. I'll just do it the hard way. But TBC, that's annoyed me that, and there's literally, do you know what I mean? Like, just it annoys me when something breaks my understanding of the language. I'm not gonna be able to sleep tonight. I guess, yeah. What is deft rather than normal deft? Maybe. Well, okay, fine. So allegedly we can load that. I guess I need to check that. Include error, and then we'll go 29G, and then we'll go ensure. Nope, not here, not here, not here, but here. Should really provide a custom overload for unique pointer, right? I think that seems fair to do. I've done it for my own like resource management type. Ensure class T, class D, and then CF that, and then stood unique pointer TD. So I should now be able to go texture, ensure raw data could not parse texture data. Yes, decal type haunts my dreams, especially the weird second overload. Okay, so what I'm going to suggest we do is all we've done is create the texture, right? I think we should well, let's create a texture first, and then from there we can kind of check that we are passing it correctly, because it won't throw. It won't do anything, but it won't throw. So let's go. So resource loader, or was it crate 2? Container 2. That is not even the interface, so I should be able to go load binary. Maybe unused, maybe not. It's possible to tell. That's a function call. So that's not going to work for us. Oh, I need to decal type the address of it. Interesting. I'll go back and try it later. I've moved on now, but that's a good point, and I will go back and have a play around with it just so I can sleep tonight. Oh, of course, we need to know all the other stuff about it. I think did we say it was 500? File assets container 2 500 by 500. Okay. Don't forget the to do. No, never to do. To do's rarely get to done. So I try to avoid them. Okay, fine. Oh, yeah, of course. Okay, so that still works. So we know, so I'm not making it up, we know that I believe SDL does something absolutely terrifying, and it actually hash defines main somewhere. I believe somewhere it has hash define main. So then, like on Windows, it'll have like win main. So when all you have to do is write main normally, and then it will overload it with the correct one. I believe that's the case. Or it did at one point. I don't know if it still does, but it does. I think hash defining main is almost a cardinal sin. But then again, SDL. How many games have been shipped with SDL, and how many games have I shipped? So what do I know? Yeah, Haran's just posted it. Yeah, hash define main to the right one. Okay, right. So we can load a texture. So now we need to send that data to the GPU on its merry way to the graphics card. So texture. So we're gonna need some more functions. We're gonna need GL texture storage 2D proc texture storage 2D proc. And then we're going to need texture sub image 2D, and then texture sub image 2D. Okay. Have I missed it? Thank you. Glad someone's paying attention. Yes, it does ruin consistency. It's also arguably wrong. The may be unused is because it may be unused. It's impossible to say. I have warnings set as errors on my toolchain, which means unused variables would normally emit a warning saying, hey, you've declared this variable but never used it, do you want to do that? And that would actually fail my build. So in those cases I use the C++ attribute, maybe unused, which just tells the compiler, hey, don't issue a warning for this and therefore don't issue an error. So GL texture storage 2D. This will be my handle. Gonna have one of them, GL RGB 8, and then the width and the height, and then GL texture sub image 2D, and this has got a whole host of arguments on it. That's what we've got here. GL text storage. So we're using the DSA one, so we don't need the target. We just need the name of the texture, and then levels of detail. I think we're going to keep all this pretty zeroed out through. I don't think we're not doing anything. We're not doing anything fancy with LODs or anything at the moment. So let's just charge through and put in some zeros. Width, height, GL, RGB. GL unsigned bytes, because that's what we were going to represent each component in, and then the data, which will be raw. I want the raw data.get. I think that's what I want. I think we can try and keep it civil, please. Otherwise, I will start timing people out or blocking them. Like, it's easy enough. Like, I think if I reached a point where people have different opinions, that's fine. It doesn't really matter. I really don't want to have to step in. That's a really interesting point. Should I use W or H? Because I guess these are pointers which could technically be set from here, so I guess they could be different. However, I'm going to kind of stick with what I've requested, because if these are different, then I think something weird's gone wrong. Maybe we could assert that they haven't changed. I think for now I'm kind of happy with this, but that is a good point. Yeah, I mean, you can put the underscore where you want when it comes. You can have your own whatever standard you want for private member variables. I just prefer the underscore at the end. It's just what I've used before, and it's what I quite like. I've done the M one before as well. Doesn't really matter. Yeah, go on then. Fine. Let's just. Yeah, so I'm going to want to promote this to the unsigned type, I reckon. Right, okay. Okay. I think this is right, but I've said that a lot of times and I've been wrong before. So let's just see if this blends and if we still get the thing before, and then we can start looking at actually slapping some stuff in. Okay, right, so we're still working. we're still trucking. Okay, so I want to do one last quick thing before we get on to actually kind of merging all this together, and I want to separate out the sampler into a separate object, just because conceptually I think that makes sense. So a sampler is just like the parameters that go along with the texture data. So like, how do you wrap around the coordinates? How do you handle like the filtering? When you can't sample one particular texel, etc., etc. Original kind of traditional OpenGL bundled that with the texture object, but actually I think all APIs now pretty much decided that's a terrible idea. Metal, DirectX 12, I think, and Vulkan all have a separate sampler object. So I'm going to kind of mimic that because modern OpenGL supports that, and also means we can kind of reuse samplers, so we don't have to keep it. It's separation of responsibility. A texture should just be effectively a handle to graphics data, whereas a sampler is how to interpret that data, and I think those two things are separate. Ensure is just something I wrote. It basically takes a predicate, and if it's false, it throws an exception, but it builds out the exception message using it's a bit of template metaprogramming and stood format. We got a bit of time left. It's a Friday. We got nowhere. We got time. We got time. So. I'm not actually going to really do much with this to start with. I'm just going to put in the mechanics of doing it. I'm going to leave it pretty much default initialized, and then we can go and modify this later as we need to. I mean, I'm not going to go till midnight, but I would like to go to hopefully at least get a chance of getting some textures rendered. So, I mean, it might be another hour or so, but hopefully you guys can kind of hang around with me for another hour or so, or how long it takes. I suspect it might be another hour or so because we haven't actually gotten to the bit where it doesn't work. So we're gonna have a constructor, and it's going to take nothing. Eventually, it will take some sort of game-specific encapsulation of the various parameters that we want to set, if that makes sense. But for now, it's literally just going to be a wrapper around the OpenGL primitive. Include OpenGL, #include auto race. Right, we're getting there. So 13 auto native handle const GL uint. And then for the privates, auto release GL uint handle. Looking very similar to the texture one. Source sample.cpp. Ad starting soon for Twitch. Apologise. Oh, there was a... Apologise, I missed that. There was a Prime subscription 38 minutes ago from Thoroy. Thank you very much. I apologise for missing that. I'm going to check I've not missed anything else. An excellent reason to sub. Yes, exactly. You should. If you can and you want to, you should. But I would never say you must. It's always nice. Oh, well, thanks for coming around, AC. It's good that you see here. It'll be on YouTube afterwards. So looking forward to catch up soon. Yes, well, yes, if you have a Prime and you're not using it, then where better place to spend it than with us? So this is not it's not an implicit namespace. It's it's accessing it via the global namespace. This comes up a lot, and I'm always happy to answer it because one, I think it's interesting, and two, it means there's new people here, which is great. There's kind of two advantages. : instantly starts the autocomplete, so that's fine. It also is it's kind of a personal reminder to me. By my personal convention, I use this on things that I didn't write, so third-party or platform-specific stuff. So when I'm looking through the code, I know I didn't write GLUint, so I kind of know it's there. It can be used to disambiguate symbols if you have a class with a method name that it happens to mirror a function that's also in like a C function, which is also in the global scope. Then you can use the : to differentiate those. So it has a couple of advantages. We've already got a hello world texture, I'm afraid. I've pinched it from OpenGL.com. Let me see if I can find it. I've lost it. Here, this is what will be hello texturing. Okay, right. So class sampler. No, what am I doing? I've already done all this. Hash include OpenGL. How many times have we written that this evening? Auto release stage. Right, we're going to need some more functions, obviously. Sampler, and then auto sampler native handle const. Oh my goodness, every single token but the one I want. GLUint turn handle. Okay. I mean, everyone is entitled to their opinion on what the first texture will be. I have decided, but you are free to obviously engage with whatever you feel is the you think is the appropriate one. Right. Oh, Christ. GL create samplers. So OpenGL back here, back to our favorite file, everyone's favorite file. FG creates. I'm a bit annoyed that it's not filling in for me. That's a little bit concerning. PFN GL create samplers, and FT will be GL create samplers, and then I'm going to need. I'm pretty sure that's right, so I don't know why that's complaining. And then I want delete samplers as well. Undo. FC CTS. Delete. Go to C. Oh, C CTS. Delete. Need proc on OpenGL thing. Is that what I need? So what you're saying is, I remembered to not put it on the function name, but I forgot to put it on the actual type declaration. Is that what we're saying? Is that the state of affairs? New Prime from Angel JA. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Okay, right, we're getting there. We're getting there. I can feel it. I can feel it. Alright, so 0u, and then see my resource managing class just kind of works without having to do this decal type horror. But what are you gonna do? GL. Oh no, he says that. Still gonna do it as a lambda. Auto sampler. GL. Delete samplers. I think it's one, and then sampler. Yes, I know that says sample. Okay, and then we can do OpenGL create samplers 1 and then handle. Right, I think that's all we need. I think the defaults are sensible for a sampler, as in, like, I think it will just do what we want it to do because we're not doing any stretching or repeating or anything. But I've said this before. I'll say it again. It should just work. Okay, so that still works, as in it builds, but we've obviously not used it yet. So now what do we need? We need to modify the vertex data to have uniform data. I'm going to drop the color as well because I'm just going to go for pure image data. That's the one. So where's the oracle? Give me the vertex data, position and UV for rendering a cube with indices. Let's see what we get out of this. I'll load up the mesh, ready to go. Oh, actually, we need to re-specify vertex data, don't we? So vertex data will now be and then we can get rid of the color and do UV. ChatGPT is really good for OpenGL. I think there's just enough information out there and enough tutorials and guides and stuff that by and large is pretty good at kind of just summarizing. Like, you can just talk to it about the docs and it'll kind of generally most of the time give you the right answer. That is more. How many? I was expecting 8 for a cube. There should only be 8 vertices, right? Why is it giving me more? There should only be 8 vertices, question mark. You're absolutely correct. Thanks. Thank you for validating me. A cube with 8 unique vertices. God knows what this is going to give us when we render it. Absolutely. Now it's giving it to me without the UVs. Oh, right. I might have to go and look this up. Right. Let's go find. ChatGPT has failed me. After me singing its praises, it has failed me. I'm going to have to just go and find it on the internet. Unless I... Do I need more than 8 vertices? Like, I thought each one would just have... what am I doing? Right. Mesh manager. I've definitely... Okay, apparently I do need more than 8. Maybe that's because of the way the UVs work. It probably is because of the way the UVs work. I guess they can't. Each corner would have a different UV depending on which triangle it's rendering. So I guess that maybe it was right, and I was flippant. Yeah, I was 24. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 8, 12, 16, 24. I mean, it's going to be more than that, but whatever. Let's just slap it in and see what happens. Excellent life advice. So let's put that in there, and then we're going to need to fix up all this formatting, which is, if you thought we were done formatting random series of floats, then you were sorely mistaken. Okay. I might just do this on one line with a macro, actually. I think this is going to be using things. So QA, go to the end, and then it's going to be dot position equals that, and f bang that, then dot uv equals that q. So if I do, okay, fine. Oh my god. So, whoa, so close. So close. It's the extra comma at the end, isn't it? And here. I feel like I'm missing something. What am I missing? It's those commas, isn't it? If I find right, QA f dot q, and then down, and then a, and then j, and then control v j, and then norm. Right, nailed it. Nope, still a mistake somewhere. Probably a bracket wrong somewhere. Probably. I definitely have called it. Oh, I've called it UV. That's why. Okay, and then my indices have updated as well. Okay. And then. Right. The formatter does indeed suck. I think we can all agree that it is better than no formatter, but still not great. Need extra something on indices, or if I put it in, those match pretty well. Okay, right. So we can now go to our vert shader, which you now have in a nice file, and we can say location is UV, and this is a 2. This is a 2 tuple, and then for vertex color, what I'm going to just say for the moment is vec for 10001. I'm just going to check that it's kind of happy with us passing this data to it. I have to update the VAO, which I know we can use vertex pulling to kind of minimize a lot of this, but for now, let's just keep that as simple as that. I think that's right. Let's just see if this blends. Bang. Failed to compile shader vertex. Because this is vertex 3. Okay, right. So pretty gross, but we're getting there. So what I'm going to do is, to start with, I'm going to hard code the texture into the renderer, which I know isn't great, but do I want to do that, or do I want to just slap it in entity? I haven't actually thought about conceptually where texture is going to live yet. I've just sort of made it. Where... does the material own the textures that are responsible for it? Or does the entity own the texture? Well, because mesh, I don't think it's mesh. Because mesh is just responsible for the raw, like, vertex data, right? That is just the model. The mesh is the abstraction over the model data, right? The material is the abstraction over the shaders. And the entity is the abstraction over kind of the things that you need to position it in 3D space, like, but also has the material in it. So the question is, do I attach a texture to an entity, or do I attach a texture to a material? Because I guess, look, let's take a. I mean, we can refactor it later. The question is, if I want to change the texture, what does that mean? Will the texture always be paired to the material? As in, if I wanted to use the same shader but with different textures, would I have to construct a separate material? I think the answer is no, I don't want to do that. I want to be able to say, here is the material you should render with, and here are the textures that go with it. So I think it should be part of the entity. I think that's my kind of deductive reasoning. So, yeah, I think we're going to go for. I think we're going for entity for now. Again, this is just one texture. We'll have to. Texture, and also actually as well. The sampler that we want to render with. Again, I think we might abstract these better later, but I think for, like, let's just, it's so easy to get wrapped up in the design of something and be like, oh, is this the right way? You know, get stuck in analysis paralysis. We really just need to make progress. So and again, the entity should be quite lightweight. It shouldn't own any of this. Okay, right. Entity. So let's just quickly slap these out. So what am I doing? I need to bring them in first. So let's bring in our texture. Let's bring in our sampler. Let's do 15G, and then let's do to the end, and then we're gonna do const texture const sampler. Okay, And then 36G, I'm just gonna bring these two over just because I can't be bothered to keep typing them. Bring that in there, and then a space. The advantage of having auto at the beginning like this is that it's very easy for me to do this. And now 44G, return texture, and then 48G, even that one, return sampler. And then I actually need to probably store them in the member variables, right? I guess eventually we're going to want like a collection of textures. So you can say, hey, this entity has this texture, you know, these textures, and then the material will just use as many as it needs from like top to bottom, I guess, maybe. Well, I mean, sampler we're just going to pass in by as a pointer, right? So we can declare our sampler and pair it with any texture that we want. Okay, so now we need to go sampler. We're going to go maybe use now. Game sampler. And now this is going to be unhappy, but we should be able to pass in after this texture and sampler. Nope. Yes. Passes in as pointers. Texture. Okay, right, I think we're getting there. So we've kind of got a lot of the wiring done now. So now it's the kind of last bit, which is actually to actually bind these. Why no references? Because references impose a restriction on the class, right? Because references cannot be rebound. That means that class is no longer copy assignable, which I might want. So as in terms of like the impact it has on the class, I don't want that. Also, I'm going to assume that none of my... Technically, we should create a non-null class, like in GSL, and wrap all the pointers in that. The other reason is also equality. I think when I want to compare things, like are these things using the same sampler, I'm going to want identity rather than object comparison, which you get from... That's one of the differences that people kind of overlook in the difference between pointers and references, is how equality works. Pointer does identity. I mean, reference wrapper is just a pointer under the hood, right? Coding live in front of an audience, your worst nightmare. It is interesting. I'm getting more comfortable with it. I wouldn't say it's like this. I go live normally at like 8 o'clock, and at 7:59 there's this like, what am I going to do for like 2 hours? Like this sharp intake of breath, but it tends to work out all right. And the worst comes to worst, I can just pretend to have a blue screen of death and pull the plug out the back of my machine. Okay, right. Let's do some OpenGL wiring. So I want to I need to bind the sampler, right? So is that GL bind sampler? I'm not sure if there's like a DSA specific version of this, or if I just bind it to the texture ID. Yes, it's true. It's continuous free code review. I get a lot out of this. Yeah, there's nothing like writing. How many people are here? There's over 100 people here, which is great. And thank you all for showing up. But there's nothing quite like having 100 people call it stereo code and have an opinion on it. Right, so we're gonna want bind texture unit. GL bind texture unit. and then I think it's bind sampler. That is not what I wanted. All my code is gone. Bind sampler proc. FT. Right. So I think we want to bind the VAO. I guess it probably doesn't matter. Actually, I don't think we want to do it there. I think that's kind of the last thing we want to do. I guess it's kind of bound to the material. GL bind sampler. Oh yeah. Okay, let's just write code and then the computer will tell me if I get it wrong. Right, so we're gonna do GL bind texture unit. Oh, I've got to update the shader as well, obviously. GL bind texture unit. So this is going to go to texture unit 1, I guess. And then this will be const auto texture equals entity texture const auto sampler equals entity sampler. Right. So texture native handle. I bet it's because I've not included. Why is that source keep popping in? How annoying. Right. Hash include sampler hash include texture. Right. And then GL bind sampler to 1 sampler native handle. Okay, right, so I think the last bit of this is the actually what it looks like in the shader. So let me just figure out my. I think that's right. I'm just double checking notes. So I think this might actually need to be 0, but or is it or do you specify it in the shader? Hold on one moment, caller, while I check my notes. So what have we done? We've bound the texture unit, we've bound the sampler. I feel like... Oh, we need to actually pass it in as a uniform. That's what we need to do. Okay, fine. So frag is going to have uniform sampler. What's the runes I need to draw in the sand here? Uniform sampler 2D text, and the color will be texture text chord, which I also need to export. Oh my goodness, there's loads left to do. We're nowhere near finished. But so let's have a look at this. So right, okay, so our out actually needs to be a vec2 chord now. So text chord, and then text chord's going to equal UV. Okay, that's fine. So there's going to be no color now because the color is just going to come from the text, and then the in will be a vec2 text chord. Okay, right. So that's some of the plumbing done. Now we just need to access this text file. So let's go back to the renderer, and we need to do I need to abstract away this uniform gubbins as well at some point because I don't particularly like it. As in, like, it could be a lot of boilerplate the more we add. So let's do text uniform, text, GeoGate uniform location, and then geo uniform. I think it's going to be 1i, which I'll have to go and add, obviously. Will be the geo uniform, and then the ID, which we must encapsulate that hard-coded 0 at some point as well. That should be the texture ID should come as part of the texture should know its own ID rather than us hard-coding the first one. Material for texture line 50. I think that's right. We want to get the uniform location in this material called text. Is that not what I called it? Yeah, it's called text. Oh, gone. What I need to do is add this. Where's the uniform? Here you go. I was trying to keep these together. Uniform 1i proc geo uniform 1i. Okay, does this blend before we run it? Thanks, Quaco, for that information. That's gross. Text uniform local variable is uninitialized. Ah, this should be, maybe you meant that. No, please, keep it to yourself. I haven't had to ban anyone yet. Please don't be the first. Okay, right. So the theory here is that we get the texture and sampler out of the entity, we bind them, we stuff that into the fragment shader, the vertex data should be going from the uniform data should be going from the vertex stage to the fragment stage. The fragment stage should kind of take that all and blend it. It does compile. We're obviously going to do a quick poll on whether we think this is going to work. Let me just set that up quickly. Poll. Has texture? Yes. No. And then we can do a, what's it called on a prediction? Start prediction. Name the prediction. Has texture. So this is the, do we think that all those cubes are now correctly textured? Do we think we're done? Right. Start prediction. Got it. Where's the magenta option? Oh no. Right, we're still going. What's the how confident are people in my ability? Way too confident. There should be more no's. Right, okay, let's end the poll and let's find out. Would everyone like to see what the result is? I hope we're all waiting. I'm gonna slowly pan down to reveal. I'm not convinced this is what we wanted. I'm afraid to say this is indeed incorrect and also quite upsetting. Okay, let me just manage prediction, choose outcome, no, complete prediction. Apologies if you got that wrong. Let's quickly use some tooling to see if we can figure out what's going on here. Launch application. Oh, hang on, I need to copy it. Let's do cp-r source to user C user downloads game stream. Let's get there. Right. Okay. And then also I'm going to need to copy the assets to there as well. Right. Okay. Just going to check that was right. Ooh, bring that over here. I don't know what that is. Okay, where's I? 25 minutes. I don't know where my stuff's been copied to. Give me 1 second. Game stream, right, okay. And we got the assets. Right, okay, fine. So executable path, downloads, game stream, open, working directory is there, command line arguments will be assets. And then launch. That's fine. So we'll bring this up here, and then we'll F12 take a capture. Go off. Right, let's see what's gone on here. So I do indeed have a color path. I do indeed draw the elements. Inputs is okay. Right. Well, I think I found the problem. The inputs texture is absolutely accurate. In fact, the nice thing is I think it is correctly rendering the texture. I just think the texture we've given it is a little unhappy, because this looks a lot like what we were seeing. So why is that? Okay, let's go back to basics. So the poll was right. No, I can't give it to you because the poll was, were we going to see the final texture, not the wrong texture. Nice try. Nice try. It's got to be in texture, right? So I need to look up STBI load from memory. I think I'll just ask the Oracle. I'm sure it'll know. See, I don't think it's because of the alpha channel, but I understand what you mean, because I basically said, oh, okay, fine. You know what? This is a num. You might be right, actually. Num channels equals. I bet this is it. I bet you're right. I bet it's. I've asked for 3, but I bet it's given me 4. Incorrect number of channels. Unbelievable. What an amazing spot. I bet then if we just go A and A here, fine. I'll have an alpha channel. I don't want one, but we'll sort it out later. Right, now, place your bets. I'm not going to do a poll. You can just put it in the chat. Oh, yeah, go. Nope. Okay, what have I done wrong? Incorrect number of channels. Whoa. What? How many channels is it giving me? Yes. 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 All these things I need to do. Yes. Correct. 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 Okay. Right. Now. I'm going to straight face because I know the answer. I need everyone to predict. Yay or nay. Are we finished? Got a yay on Twitch. Got a yes. Got some yeses on YouTube. Oh god, I want to believe. Boom. Textures. Done. Nailed it. Look at that. A little sea of boxes. I've got no mip mapping. I've got no anti-aliasing. Oh, gonna ignore that. Just not gonna look at that side. Just gonna look at it from this side. Don't know what's going on there. I suspect the UVs are wrong because I just copied them off of ChatGPT. But that right there's a community post. Right, comment up all this because we're real engineers, right? Commit, add assets, and then so we had some new files, didn't we? I'm not going to refactor the mesh loader tonight. I think we'll do that another night. Follower goal met, 430 followers on Twitch. Thank you very much appreciated. So add resource loader class. It might be fun to unit test the resource loader class and try and mock out some like file IO stuff. I don't know. I mean, I think that's fun, but your mileage may vary. So let's commit add texture class, and then oh, actually, I should probably commit that and that to the. How do I? Let's just amend that commit. Yes, I would like to amend that commit. Thank you very much. Right. Okay, and then CMake add that. Add that. Commit add sampler class, and then. I mean, this is just, you know what's going to be. This is just going to be integrate changes. Yes, you can. LazyGit supports basically everything, so you can pretty much do what you want. You basically hit space. I mean, I was using the mouse there because I'm just being lazy now, but you can use space to stage the whole file, or you can press enter to then go through and do like the chunked version. Let's just. So we're on stream 10. Stick all that in the Git hole. Right, before everyone goes off, let's see what we're doing. Hold on one moment, caller. Don't all disappear. Kind of interested to know anyone doing any. Hang on 1 second. But yeah, I think so. Next time we're going to do lighting. I think that's best. I think that's the next big thing to do. So once we've got those cubes lit, we can then go and basically do model loading, and then I think at that point we're the point where we can start looking at actually building out a little game of something. Just throw some stuff into a scene and have a little play around with it. Same category. Is anyone? No one doing C++. How upsetting. I do like to spread the love on Twitch and move people onto someone else afterwards, but if there's no... But something kind of related. You guys doing Haskell? That's on with not many views. Oh, I love Lazy Git. I think it's one of the best things I've kind of... It's one of the best improvements I've had to my toolchain, I think. It's just so great. Yeah, it just makes life so much... Because I really like CLI tools. I like doing stuff through the command line. And Lazy Git has just like been a bit of a game changer for me. I still have to occasionally drop down to the command line to do just like... all my like interactive rebasing, and if I got to pull anything out of the ref log or anything like that, I'll just do it on the command line. But for like day-to-day Git driving, I think Lazy Git is really good. He's making a game in Unreal. Can you remember his name? I'll send people over to him again. Oddculus. Let's see if we can find him. How do I search? Live channel trade. Oddculus. Oh yeah. Okay, fine. Let's queue that up. Read. Okay, well, I'm going to call it there. Thank you very much for coming along. I hope everyone had a good time. Let me just, I suppose I should leave this running so you can kind of see it before we go. But yeah, next time, so should be back regular stream on Sunday. Avoid those dodgy cubes. We will do some lighting. I think we'll try and get some directional light and maybe even a point light. We'll see how we'll get on for time. But thank you very much. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll catch you all in the next one.